How do you properly celebrate America if your state is too dry to burn stuff? At least 2 metro communities are trying a cool alternative. The governor announced he's putting a few $100 in people's wallets this year. Spoiler alert, it's money you were due anyway. Body cameras show us the moments a Democratic state representative is arrested for suspicion of DUI and reveal the name he dropped during that arrest.
You can reach out and get help when you need it.
Friends and family of an MSU grad want you to hear his story as a reminder that fentanyl can impact anyone. I'm Steve Stager, in for Kyle Clark. This is Next. The way we celebrate America in this part of our country is going to look different this year, like it has the last few years. Fire risk is driving a lot of communities to cancel traditional fireworks displays. We learned today at least 2 Metro Denver towns are going to try something different, something safer, and arguably kind of cooler. They're turning to drones.
We're here in West Cliff, Colorado, setting up some drones.
The Marshall Fire made the phone ring off the hook at Hire UAV Pros in Denver.
We had probably somewhere on the order of 300 or 400 requests for 4th of July.
They do synchronized drone light shows, like the cool ones you see at large events like the Super Bowl. Owner Graham Hill says he's now hearing from a lot of towns in fire-prone areas like ours who want a replacement for traditional fireworks.
Post-Marshall Fire, it's been much more about replacing the entertainment, not just this year, but looking for an alternative for the foreseeable future.
We've seen what actual fireworks have the capability to do in dry conditions. Last year's Christmas show put on by the Douglas County Commissioners caused spot fires at every location where those fireworks were launched. So perhaps it's fitting that 2 Douglas County communities told us today they are under contract to do these drone light shows for the 4th this year. Castle Pines on July 3rd and Parker for its Stars and Stripes celebration on July 4th. The only 2 we've been able to confirm.
We're already working on doing 4 shows in 4 different locations over 4th of July weekend.
Now remember, Boulder County just saw a drone crash start a fire. Hill says his crews take several safety precautions like flying over paved areas or manicured grass.
We're flying hundreds of drones within about 6 to 8 feet of one another. So 25-mile-an-hour winds and above are no-go for us.
He says drones are a viable alternative to a real fire risk. And as the West continues to stay dry, he expects the demand to keep growing.
This time last year, we had about 3 shows booked, and this year we have about 30.
I think it looks pretty stinking cool. Parker told us today its show on the 4th will be an alternative to fireworks because of the conditions. It'll be a 12-minute show over Salisbury Park and visible from up to about 2 miles away. Castle Pines isn't ready to rule fireworks out completely this year, but they are happy to have this alternative on the books if the dry conditions persist. Governor Jared Polis is moving up the cashback rebate from Tabor by a few months. We are sure that this has nothing to do with the election this fall. The governor made the announcement this morning. Single filers will receive $400. Joint filers will get $800. Under Tabor, which was passed in 1992, the amount of revenue governments in the state can retain and spend is limited. Excess revenue has to be given back to the taxpayers, or lawmakers have to ask Colorado voters if they can keep that money. State Treasurer Dave Young says the state is set to hit the Tabor limit soon. Now, the cashback rebate is available to all full-time Colorado residents who file their 2021 income tax returns by May 31st. Earlier today, we asked the governor's office what relief there will be for low-income Coloradans who make too little money to actually file a tax return. They encouraged everyone to file their taxes by the end of May. Normally, Tabor money is paid out in the spring of the following year. This money will instead be sent out sometime this summer, just before November, when the governor's up for re-election. Polis and other lawmakers pushed to keep Tabor money permanently through a ballot issue in 2019. It failed. Now the governor who wanted to keep the money is celebrating being the one to give it back. Our statewide test positivity rate for COVID-19 has now been over 5% for almost a week. Remember, 5% is that threshold that the World Health Organization determines if an area has the virus under control or not. The newest data is a little delayed by the weekend, but our current 7-day test positivity rate is 5.1%. That number's been trending up since the end of March. It's a milder strain of the virus, though, that's currently circulating around Colorado, so fewer people need to be hospitalized. 86% of ICU beds in the state are in use right now. 208 beds are available across the state should a patient need one.
Nice way to start the week with sunshine, cooler temperatures, and, well, less wind. Temperatures below average in the mid-50s for Denver. Did see some 60s in southern Colorado. We're trending in the other direction tomorrow as southwest winds increase ahead of a weak storm that'll basically miss Colorado, but we'll capture just a little bit of that energy. Tracking some snow in the mountains and Front Range foothills, that activity tapering off. Tonight, other than a few high clouds, we've got a calm, quiet night, a cold night. Low temperatures tonight are headed into the lower 30s, but we bounce back tomorrow. 72 Tuesday, 75 Wednesday, 80 Thursday, and maybe a thunderstorm Friday. That cold front might also bring a bit of wind at the end of the week.
So we're used to Colorado weather getting extreme, not like X Games extreme, more like blizzard followed by a 60-degree day in the middle of February kind of extreme. But the extremes are becoming more the norm in recent years, something 9 News meteorologist Chris Bianchi says can be traced back to one thing.
And one thing about Colorado weather is we're prone to getting extreme weather. But what we've seen over the last 14 months has been a whole lot of extremes and more often. Think about this. Remember last March we had that huge snowstorm that dropped over 27 inches worth of snowfall? That made it our second snowiest March and our second wettest March on record. Then that was followed by our driest and warmest final 6 months of the year on record in Denver and throughout much of the Front Range. And of course, those were some of the conditions that led up to the Marshall Fire. And within that, we had our latest first measurable snowfall on record here in Denver and our first snowless fall ever recorded here. And then we had a whole lot of snow in January, February, and March, which then led to this, an extremely dry start to April and what will likely be our driest April on record here in Denver. And that's what climate change is here, folks. One extreme to the other, and more often.
More veterans in Colorado are experiencing homelessness. They'll soon have a roof over their heads, thanks to your generosity. Kyle is traveling, but he took a break to update you on last week's Word of Thanks microgiving campaign.
Hey, thanks for your support of the latest Word of Thanks microgiving campaign. Together, you raised more than $20,000 for Veterans Community Project in Longmont. They just broke ground on that campus last week. It's eventually going to be 26 small homes and a community center for veterans and their family experiencing homelessness. They'll be able to get addiction services there and help with mental health challenges, a transitional step between living in the streets and going into long-term housing. If you have ideas for a future Word of Thanks microgiving campaign, send your ideas to next@9news.com. I read each and every one.
Fentanyl kills an MSU Denver alum just days after leaving rehab.
No matter your income ladder, no matter your culture, no matter anything, this drug is a killer.
His friends, family, and former teacher want others to learn from his life and death. Investigators are looking into whether a random shooting in Weld County could be tied to a string of shootings in northern Colorado 7 years ago. That's next. A Democratic state lawmaker was trying to pick up his kids from an after-school program when he was suspected of drunk driving. We told you about the arrest of State Representative Matt Gray back on Friday. Now politics guy Marshall Zellinger has the body camera video that shows Gray dropping a name after he's cuffed.
Body camera video released to 9 News today shows the arrest of Democratic State Representative Matt Gray by Broomfield Police.
Do you know why we're here?
I know exactly why you're here.
Okay. You explain to me why I'm here then.
Because somebody called you on the suspicion of the fact that I was intoxicated and was going to drive my children while I was intoxicated.
Gray was arrested Thursday night after he went to his kids' after-school program to pick them up. Multiple staff members thought he was intoxicated.
I'm not intoxicated. I didn't drive here intoxicated. Like, I'm not.
When asked for his name and date of birth, he told them he was a state representative for Broomfield who had come to the school from work at the state capitol. He said he was suffering from anxiety and refused voluntary roadside tests and a breathalyzer.
I was trying to give you a way out of this by blowing in a breathalyzer to say, hey, see, I told you I wasn't drinking. Okay, it was just the anxiety pills. But you didn't want to do that, okay? So here's what's going to happen now. Do me a favor, turn around and put your hands behind your back.
9 News legal analyst Scott Robinson explains why failure to do roadside tests or breath tests may not help the person being questioned.
It is very, very common for people to refuse to take tests, which is not a great idea because you wind up getting your license revoked. But refusal is not going to keep you from being charged, and refusal is not going to keep you from being convicted if a jury believes from other evidence that you were driving under the influence.
As he was cuffed and loaded into the police car, Gray name-dropped knowing the district attorney that covers Broomfield, Democrat Brian Mason, while also telling officers not to give him special treatment.
Very explicitly saying, don't do anything differently than you normally do. I am a state elected official, and I'm friends with the elected DA, and I'm complying with everything that you've asked.
Gray was booked on suspicion of DUI and released. For Next, I'm Marshall Zellinger.
Gray previously worked as a deputy district attorney in the 17th Judicial District Attorney's Office, which covers both Adams and Broomfield counties. Because of that, District Attorney Brian Mason is recusing his office from this case. The 1st Judicial District, which covers Jefferson and Gilpin counties, will take the case instead. A seemingly random shooting near a northern Colorado town has us dusting off an old segment we like to call What Did We Used to Talk About? The Weld County Sheriff's Office is investigating what they say is a random highway shooting west of Hudson. Happened a little before 5 in the morning last Friday. The Sheriff's Office says that a driver in a work truck for a fracking company was going eastbound on Highway 52 when he heard what he thought was an engine backfiring. Assumed that noise came from a car that was going the other way. When the driver got to work, he found a large bullet hole in the driver's side door. The bullet actually fell to the ground when he opened the door up. They're now looking for the other vehicle that passed the guy, but all they have to go on is that it was a light-colored sedan. The incident reminded us of a string of shootings that happened in northern Colorado back in 2015. You might remember this. First shooting happened on April 22nd of 2015. Corey Romero was shot in the neck while she was merging onto I-25 near Fort Collins. She survived. Then about a month later, on May 18th, John Jacoby was shot and killed while riding his bicycle near Windsor. On June 3rd, another fatal shooting. William Knoll was shot and killed on a street corner in Loveland. That same night, someone shoots at a motorcyclist but misses. And then finally, on September 13th of that year, someone fires shots into Cottonwood Plains Elementary School in Loveland. Later that same day, shots are fired at Banner Health Center in Fort Collins. Multiple law enforcement agencies in northern Colorado, including the Larimer County Sheriff's Office, formed a team of investigators to try to look into the shooting spree. They eventually linked the shootings of Corey Romero and John Jacoby together. But the first big break in the case comes 3 years later, in March of 2018. Police arrested Christopher David Parker for the shooting death of William Knoll and for firing shots at the motorcyclist. He's charged with first-degree murder and attempted murder. Investigators said at the time there was no evidence to suggest he was involved in the other 4 shootings. In 2019, Parker was ruled mentally incompetent to stand trial, and his case has been stalled ever since. So we wanted to know, is the Northern Colorado Task Force still a thing? They still taking tips? Still investigating the other cases? The Larimer County Sheriff's Office tells us the task force is still looking into any leads and tips into unsolved cases. They don't have a physical office anymore that they share together, but we're told investigators do talk regularly. We're told that they are actually reaching out to the Weld County Sheriff's Office to see if there's any possible link to the previous cases. They lost a friend, a family member, and a former student.
You must do something about this epidemic now to get the people, the kids, the youth that need the help they need.
They want to share his story so no one else loses a loved one to fentanyl. Next. He was the first in his family to graduate college and was trying to overcome his addiction to opioids. MSU Denver grad Eric Perez had recently gone to rehab. He was 3 months sober when he was released last week. And last night, he overdosed and died. We talked to his family and friends who don't want to see another young life lost too soon.
He was funny, he was warm, and very knowledgeable. My name is Patricia R. Perez. I am grandmother to Eric A. Perez. Eric was a handful. He had this super energy, and very inquisitive, singing, just a lovely little boy. I never dreamed that he would get into college, but he did.
Eric was one of my students. I'm Dr. Renee Fajardo. I am the director of the Journey Through Our Heritage program. He was one of our youth leaders, our youth mentors. Through him, they got award after award after award.
The thing that always shined with him is he always wanted to work with the community. I'm Orlando Moreno. Eric was my best friend. There was always a bit of sadness, and that was something that we shared in. We talked a lot about.
His struggles were not just the struggle of somebody that was a throwaway kid. They were the struggles that plague our whole community and our society.
My grandson Johnny, he went and he was yelling his name and pounding on the door, no response. He broke the door open, and I thought he would come out of it. I thought with the injection and the cold water and the CPR.
I got the call from his mom, and she was frantic. And I couldn't really move. I locked up.
Unfortunately, his struggle with opiates has been an ongoing devastation, and I think that one of the gut reactions after we got over the shock was just anger.
I want to be right behind the support for getting to the problem of this drug, fentanyl.
This is an epidemic that is plucking the best and brightest of our children from us.
This drug is a killer. You never know. It's like Russian roulette. You never know where you're going to land.
If you have any type of sadness or anger or anything in your heart, you can talk to people.
I just seem to think that everything would be okay, but I really feel very bad about that.
We're not going to let his death just be one more tragic death that's just written up in the books and forgotten.
It's a sign that you should exit here. Wait, no, don't. The Applebee's in Littleton is sending customers into existential crisis. To exit or not to exit. And a little bit of chicken fried. Sandra snapped this photo of the confusing directions on one of the restaurant's doors last weekend. Hopefully they don't have too many emergencies in that Applebee's that require people to exit quickly or find the exits quickly. Send us the signs you see in your community. Snap a picture, email it to next@9news.com, or tweet it to us with the hashtag #HeyNext. Finish with your feedback now. John writes an interesting story tonight about drones and fireworks. You do know that the Nelson Road fire in Boulder County was started with the crash of a single drone. The lithium-ion battery caught fire. We mentioned that in the story. It's one of the things they take a lot of precautions when they launch. Try not to put them over fire-prone areas. Assistant State Climatologist Becky, she says she likes that idea, and it's a better option for pets and veterans. Think about it. We'll see you next time.